mess around with any settings now. I'll let it take its course. I get kind of clicky with my mouse.
Why?
I don't know. Like I feel if something's not moving, I gotta click on something, and that usually ends up sabotaging it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
For
I
some
see it all the
reason,
time.
for some reason, we're actually live on Facebook.
Because we're not trying to go live with your phone.
Is that what it is?
Probably.
Do we get banned for that kind of stuff or something for talking about addiction recovery on Facebook?
No, I don't think so. And it didn't ban us. Jed was able to go live.
It just said we're doing something wrong. Nonetheless, let's get ready to rock. Marissa, there's no way that you and I are this busy, right?
Yeah.
Starting 17 minutes late. Are you serious? Our fans are like, come on, man. Yeah, right.
Sorry, guys.
Nonetheless, let's get into it. Welcome to One-on-One Live with Coach Blu. Everybody, it's so good to see you jumping on here with the live feeds. We've got Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, a lot of other places.
Welcome,
right?
welcome.
Seeing our ugly mugs all over the world. Who knows? Yeah, thank you all so much for jumping on. We are excited today to talk a little bit about life, about things going on. Your opportunity to jump on here with any questions you might have about addiction recovery, mental health, recreation, shoot, you name it, we can probably discuss it. Blu Robinson here, head coach of Addict to Athlete, licensed mental health therapist, substance use disorder counselor. Marissa?
I am a certified recreational therapist and addiction professional.
And you are the athletic director of this here team.
Athletic director of Team Addict to Athlete.
Everything good that comes out of this team comes out of that mind over there. I'll tell you.
I'm not sure, but
yeah, and we're losing a little bit of it because we're so wicked busy, huh?
Yeah, my mind.
It's been good. It's been good. Being busy is a good thing. Have you ever noticed that they never ask lazy people to do anything? It's always the busy people that get asked to carry the heaviest load.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because they're the ones that get stuff done.
I guess they're the ones that get stuff done. Yeah, it's like, take a breather. Thank you all for jumping on. We really appreciate all of you who are participating right now within the Patreon program. You guys are the backbone of this podcast. All of the funding that goes into the podcast goes back into the advertising, the equipment, the pursuit of expanding our voice out there to help more people. So thank you so much for doing that. And I don't think we have any, I guess, massive movement here on the old Patreon, but we do want to give thanks and shout outs to those who are on there right now.
Absolutely.
So we have our super fans. They're Jerem Thurston, Tracy Whitby, Holly Davies, Scott Foster, and the whole Foster family. Coach Chris Williams, Brett Frew, Coach Tara Butson. I hope any status on her knee. Coach, check in. We want to know how you're doing. We're worried.
How did the doctor appointment go?
Absolutely. Steve Riggs and the Warrior Within podcast and personal development by Sensei KP. Thanks so much, you super fans. You guys are rock stars.
Thank you.
Our rookie level subscribers, Kenny Roseman, Sherry Bear, Sherry Polson, out there trucking the highways and byways, get your packages on time, right?
Yeah, she just got a set schedule. We're so excited because now I think she's going to have like Friday, Saturdays off to be able to come and join us for races.
Absolutely.
And some more events.
Good
so we're excited to see you more in person, Cher.
Earl Dyer. I should probably say the whole Dyer family because Krista is very much the backbone of that family.
Yeah.
Right.
She shows up and Earl's got other things to do. She just comes alone and I love it.
She totally does. And she's going to be kayaking in the Valkyrie race. And we let her use one of the kayaks and she's going to be out there paddling herself around. So
I love kayaking. It's so fun.
Krista and the Dyer family, you guys are rock stars. And Zioni and Mary Enoch participated both.
I finally met them both in person now. Yeah. So they break the cycle relay. Yeah, great people.
So thank you guys so much. Our pro level subscribers, again, it's the BYU twins. We got Wendell Wood and Gary Thurston. Thanks so much, you guys.
Yes, BYU Cougar fans.
And our championship level subscribers. We are so thankful for Shad and Freya Robinson and all that they do. Was able to see little Emma being pushed in the middle of the night with
little
Tyson.
Emma came out and like really middle of the night. I think it was midnight, freezing cold at our break the cycle relay. And then she went home for a couple hours and went back out with another one of our athletes for the Salt Lake City Marathon,
which was even more miserable and more cold.
Sleet and snow.
Absolutely.
And she is a rock hard athlete.
She is. And of course, Ron and Dee Loesch. Thank you guys so much up there in God's country up north of us, right?
Yeah.
If you would like to
Montana,
join the Patreon family, jump on patreon.com/addictoathlete. Shoot, $2 a month will get
That's
you guys all the bonus episodes. And right now it's the recovery playbook. They are kind of like the testers of the playbook right now.
Yes.
So you get episodes every week. And yeah, I love the feedback. But you can jump on patreon.com/addictoathlete and jump on to see what kind of levels, tiers, and perks come with each one of those. So thank you so much, Patreon subscribers. You guys are seriously like,
yeah, we couldn't do it without you guys. So thank you.
We have a lot of activities coming up. Since you're the recreational therapist and have these all down, you want to do a brief run through?
Let me try to remember. Okay. I don't think for the first time we have anything this weekend, but that's because we're just planning everything else.
It's busy.
There's probably something this weekend, but I forgot. Next weekend, though, is our big 11th anniversary party, Riverview Park. All of these events also are on our website, addictathlete.org. If you go under About Addict Athlete, there's an events calendar with all the links of everything. Many of our athletes will be doing the Provo City Half Marathon or 5K that morning, and then we'll be meeting at noon for a big barbecue and party. Then we have the No One Left Behind half marathon, June 25th. We are still accepting sponsors and donations if anyone or business is interested. And then absolutely find your team of 3 and get registered. This is going to be an awesome event. 3 people. It's kind of like a 3-legged race. Me as a rec therapist really wants to tie you guys together, at least your legs, for the whole half marathon, but Blue and Jed have fought against it. So I guess we'll just let you guys run within 15 feet of each other. Just like in addiction, we can't do it without a team. So this isn't a relay. It's a team event. It's to run with a group. And so, yeah, you're as fast as the slowest is the fastest. You just do it together. That's the point. So get registered because the price will go up. I think it's June 1st. Mm-hmm. So get registered now, post on Facebook, share our event, tell anyone and everyone, hey, I want to do this. Who wants to run with me? Get a team, get registered.
Absolutely.
Then we have our fireworks show in American Fork and barbecue on July 2nd. This is going to be enormous this year. It's a big family friendly, fun, safe, sober event. Then we also have discounts for our Beaver Canyon Marathon, which is run and led by the race directors, our coach from Beaver County, Utah. And that is through the gorgeous Beaver Canyon in central Utah. Contact me if you want the discount code for that.
Awesome.
Our annual 5K run is in September on Labor Day. And so you can find even more things on there.
That Proxy Run is a heartfelt experience. And so please come be a part of it. It's not just a run. It's funny. The events that we're putting on, they're not just, get there as fast as you can. They really are experiences to be enjoyed and to be cherished. When you're running the Proxy Run, you're running for someone that may be struggling or unfortunately may have lost their battle to addiction, or suicide or things of that nature. And so really, as you're running, you're carrying with them not only their legacy and their memory, but I'm firm in belief in that they're with you too. Every step of the way. It's an emotional run, but it helps the healing process. And the No One Left Behind is going to be an amazing experience because there's nothing like that around here where you're only as fast as that person that you're journeying along with. So good events coming up. We got lots of stuff. I'd love to see as many of you out there on our anniversary. 11 years, Marissa, we've been doing this.
11 years. It's a long time.
It's crazy. And it seems like the last 6 months is finally starting to accelerate. And these last 2 weeks have been even more intense.
Yeah. Addict Athlete's like our real baby because our youngest child, Camden, is 12. Yep. He was born right before we started Addict Athlete and he's been growing with it. So he's just 1 year older than Addict Athletes, I guess, our baby of the family.
So there's a few things weighing in on my heart before we get jumping into some of these questions. And I know we probably got some people coming on that want to be part of the show, but I want to touch base on an experience that you and I had over the weekend, going down to Southern Utah and St. George to say goodbye to a very cherished athlete that had passed away on Easter morning, which was kind of intense. I didn't realize that until I heard them speaking about that. And, if you've been following the social media pages here on Team Addict Athlete, you know that we lost a significant man, Caden Ivey, who was part of the team and had some amazing experiences passed away on Easter morning,
April 17th.
And there were some tender mercies, I think, that I noticed while we were down there, paying our respects and being there for the family and those who loved him. significantly the number of people talking about, although he had struggled with addiction, he was clean when he passed.
I believe so. He
Which is
had been for sure.
Which is an interesting thing because, when you get labeled with these kind of stigmas, there's always that speculation and there's always that concern and all those kind of things, and I don't think it's ever right for any of us to, prejudge or to do, I'll bet you kind of thing, right? But I love the fact that the significant changes he'd made over the last 6 months, even more so.
Yeah, 8 months, I think.
Yeah, 8 months, where
really well.
he was very much a part of his family. And, none of us make it out of this life alive. I don't know if you've noticed that. But the thing that I think is amazing is the retention of those memories. When I was talking to Shad Robinson, Patreon, championship level guy, up at the Salt Lake Marathon on Saturday, I was talking a little bit about the people who have been pushing Emma. And if you haven't had a chance to experience pushing Emma or an athlete who is disabled in a adaptive running wheelchair, please do so. We'd love to have you come up and be part of Addict to Athlete to do this with Emma, because when you're pushing Emma, you are pushing alongside many angels.
Yep.
And it got me thinking a little bit about everyone who's pushed Emma and every individual who's wrapped their hands around the handlebars and leaned into that chair and pushed her, and several of them have passed, and I think that when they pass, they're right there beside you as well. And just for a moment, as I was up there and I kind of placed my hands where Caden had put his hands and Don had put his hands and several other athletes, I just felt this overwhelming, just love for what that represents, being able to serve an athlete who could not participate in these kind of things unless it were through the legs of, the person serving, our athletes. And it kind of committed myself to just really give thanks to the Robinson family for allowing us into their lives so deeply and for trusting us with such precious cargo. And it's for those athletes who find themselves in a little bit of anxiety or despair or feel like they can't accomplish something. When you're doing something outside yourself, like that kind of service, it is the most amazing feeling. People look at you as you're running with the chair and looking at Emma, and they open up dialogue, and it's almost hard to run with headphones on because everyone wants to talk to you about her. It reinforces that fact that service in a lot of out of the box ways are truly what's going to keep you clean and sober. How important is community service, is service in general to what we do on Team Addict to Athlete?
Oh, for the team, it's, oh gosh, I don't even know if we put a percentage on it, what it would be, but
second to none.
Yeah, it's pretty high. And I think for people in recovery, it's huge for them to get outside of themselves, to look at, being able to help other people. There's so many times in addiction that you are selfish and you kind of hurt everyone else around you besides yourself, that this is a way that you give back and forget about yourself and get involved in others. And it also helps you when, sometimes when you start getting clean and you recognize the devastation that you've caused and created, it gets really depressing, really sad. And if you get stuck in that, it's really hard to get out of even more. And doing service helps you do that.
Absolutely. So there's just a lot of emotion. And I was talking to Marissa about this too, as we were traveling down there, that this career that we've chosen, it's kind of hard sometimes. It's hard when you build these relationships and they come to a close way before you think they will. Again, that reinforces the fact that, we've really got to lean into making sure that we're all doing what we can to help. It can't be just Coach Blu here and Marissa and Coach Jensen. It's got to be everybody. And I'm noticing this starting to happen more and more, especially in the Utah County chapter, where relationships have been established and people are stepping out of comfort zones to make sure that their fellow athlete is okay. Reach out. While we were down in St. George, we heard a commercial come on that talked about the significant loss of life that we're still seeing, despite the fact that we are very aware that the opiate epidemic and fentanyl issue is still very much alive. it's becoming so commonplace to talk about it that we're not hearing it anymore.
Yeah.
We talked about here in Utah, 10 people, was it a week or a month that passes? I can't remember.
A week,
It said 10 people a week that pass from substance use, addiction, overdose. That is nuts.
Yeah.
That is so crazy. And so thank you for the agents out there who truly want the change, and service is the absolute key. And we have a lot of service opportunities. So jump on our website and check in with us if you have anything that you feel like, you want to be a part of.
Please.
All right. Before we jump into questions that I have here back channeled, anything that you've got over there?
Not yet. Almost.
Okay. This one was from a couple of weeks ago, and I apologize for not getting it on sooner, but it talks, I think, the time that you were gone last week. So I just kind of got on a high horse. Talks about stress. Stress seems to be a major component to my mind wandering into thinking about using. How do we cope with stress? Because it doesn't seem as though I have the right tools. Let's jump into stress, shall we?
Yeah.
Stress is the number one cause to relapse, people.
Yep.
But there's positive and negative stress.
Yeah, that's the sad, scary thing is you always think it's always bad stuff, but positive, good things happening to you can cause stress as well and be very difficult to push through when it comes to recovery and anything.
So one thing I've noticed too, and the funny thing about stress is, your body can't tell. It just knows that something's coming. Stress typically induces those fight, flight, fawn, or freeze experiences, right? And if we are consistently like shooting the gap of like stress, anxiety, get up, go, when do you truly have time to just be at rest, right?
Yeah.
You have been tremendously stressed over the last couple of days because we have so much on our plate.
Yeah.
And I could tell in the tone of your voice, I'm like, I'm going to creep back downstairs and keep editing the race bibs and get these things ready for this race. This individual brings up a good point. How do we channel it? Because we talk a little bit about, you showed me a TikTok or a show or something that has been very deep in our mindset for quite some time, talking about the reasons why we are so prone to stress, so prone to anxiety, and why we slip into depression. And a lot of it is because we don't use that problem thinking, overcoming mindset like we used to back in the day.
Yeah.
Right. We as a society, we've accelerated into needing to create problems in order to flex some emotional and mental muscle.
Yeah.
So we're talking a little bit about, okay, so the dopamine, right? Yep. Let's drop into this because the stress that life typically throws at you means that it takes away from the pleasure sensor, which is the dopamine. So what do? We typically go to things that are quick, the substances, the actions, the behaviors. Yeah. And that release of dopamine, whether it's going to the fridge or going down to the store to grab, a candy or so, whatever.
Yeah.
It's going to release that dopamine.
And dopamine's usually just a real short-lived thing. And so it can be oftentimes in addiction. It's just in the search of, it's even, they talk about being addicted to your phone because you can get a little dopamine rush just looking when your phone pings like, oh, I got an email, or, oh, somebody liked my comment and commented back. Like it's just a short, quick thing. But
I usually get the opposite of that when my phone rings. I'm like, ugh, right?
Yeah.
But that causes stress too. And so, this guy was talking a little bit about like, why do we have to challenge ourselves in order to get results of like accomplishment? And it's kind of a funny thing. This is the stuff we talk about with the no one left behind run. The reason why we want you guys to come out, specifically if this is the first time you've done any kind of distance running, is because it's going to push you.
Yep.
And the cool thing about it too is you've got to be patient. And I think a lot of people are nervous about that because they don't want to, hurt someone's feelings, or they don't want to, be the last one that's keeping everybody behind, right? And the interesting part about that is these challenges at the end are what creates the dopamine dump later. And it's a crazy thing. That's why we have these tough mutters. That's why we have Spartan runs.
The issue is, if we go back to the caveman times, that those dopamine dumps were fewer and farther between, like life was kind of
kill or be killed.
And then, you had these like really high stress moments and oh, I found food. But now we have dopamine anywhere and everywhere. Everywhere. It happens all day long, every second of every day. we get it for anything we do. And so when we're living that way, then that becomes our normal, and things aren't as exciting, and people become more and more depressed because they constantly live with that dopamine dump. There's not stuff in between. So the only way to do it is, like you say, is to create more challenge, more experience, and have those peak events.
To have instant gratification at your fingertips at any and all times.
You need things that take time and work hard.
That in and of itself is going to create stress. I mean, that is the one reason why pornography has been taking over so many hearts of men and women, is because it's such an instant gratification, I guess, pursuit. A couple of keystrokes on the computer, a couple of swipes on the phone, and you're there. And so this is one of those things where it's easier to find that dopamine than it is to go out and do a 5K run, go put in your 3 miles. See, early on, we realized this 11 years ago on Team Addict to Athlete, because there were times when people would say, Blue, I'm really triggered. I want to go get a drink. And I'm like, go ahead, man, go get your drink. But first, go run that 5K. I need you to go out there and I need you to log in 3 miles. And when you're done, show me, and I give you my blessing. Go ahead, go out and get your drink.
Yeah.
Many people did that. No one ever used. How come?
Because it's hard. You've got, all of a sudden you get that dopamine and you get rid of the cortisol that's stressing you out and the things that are going. And it's hard. It's not just something easy that you do by laying on the couch. It takes effort. It takes shifting your brain, shifting your body, like shifting everything.
Yeah. And it's an action-oriented response. You cannot just sit on the couch and try to erase that feeling. So when you're under tremendous amounts of stress, you have to channel it somewhere. You've got to dump it, or else it's going to consume you. And this is where emotional, mental fatigue sit in. This is where health starts to kind of come into question.
Yeah.
There's so many, I guess, avenues to unhealthy lifestyles, because the motivation factor of wanting to dump the stress isn't on your inner game plan. You've got to move. You've got to get up and go. And it doesn't have to be a 3 mile run. It could be around the block walk. It can be starting to get up and grab the dish rag or something. And I know it's not pleasurable, but movement equals healing.
Yeah.
And so I've noticed when I'm stressed and I'm at the peak of it, because we got so much on our plate right now, and it's all fantastic, great stuff. It's great stuff that I'm excited to share with the community here soon. But it's like, it's busy.
It's busy. It's overwhelming. Yeah.
It's nerve-wracking. And so it creates a lot of stress. Now, if we just sat here and pent it up and dumped it into, maybe unhealthy eating or binge Netflix watching, what's going to be the result? A horrible, horrible downpour, right? I mean, we won't get things done. We'll start to second guess ourselves. We'll probably self-sabotage.
Absolutely.
So, I would say, how to dump stress, move, right? Get up and move. And then channel it into better pursuits. I think that you boil it down to the classic, what can I change? What can't I?
Yeah.
If it's something that's super stressful, tackle the big things first, right?
Yeah.
And I love what your dad always says on his emails, don't sweat the small stuff. And I love that, because there are some things that are out of our control that we don't need to worry about.
Well, and it's hard when you're in the middle of it to do that. So it's important to, when you are stressed and overwhelmed, to kind of like take a step back and like evaluate, like, what is the most important, prioritize, what's going to be really important in a year from now, 5 years from now, 20 years from now, and maybe kind of adjusting and adjusting your focus. And that sometimes can help you, your perspective shift and let things settle a little.
And maybe even I'll be a little bit personal here with you guys. Maybe there's no one listening. I don't know. But, in with what Marissa and I are doing, and with the grants that we've received from the state of Utah to help increase our stretch and our abilities to help people on Team Addict to Athlete through these grants, it's taken away a lot of other things, because the focus has had to be so heavy. And this last week and the weeks coming, the next couple are going to be very overwhelming, which means that there's areas in life that have to also give.
Yeah.
And, I do a lot of contract private therapy, and I've had to put a break on all of that right now, which is super hard for me to do, because I've got clients that are counting on me.
And that they need you, and they're struggling. And
absolutely.
Really
and it's hard. As I'm kind of conversing with some of the folks that I'm working with, It stinks because I'm like, I'm spreading myself too thin. I use that word. I'm like, I'm spreading myself too thin. If I miss any of this, I'm going to drop the ball somewhere. And I am classically overcommitting myself, which creates stress all the time, right? Because you never want to ever be the bad guy, but it boils down to what's best for me. And as hard as that is, what's going to be best for me? And the hope there is that with the clients that I have, they'll understand enough of the reasons why. And it's temporary. It's not going to be forever. It's just as we're going through some of the thick of these things. But I'm also thinking, like, there's a hard point when we feel like we have so much responsibility that if we drop the ball, we're a little harder on ourselves. Yeah. Does that make sense? And so even in early recovery, you find yourself in this, you've got to be careful. And as hard as it is to say, I'm not Superman, I've got to put some of this stuff on the back burner. Some will understand, some won't. Yeah. And that's going to have to be okay. And sadly, some people are offended and upset. And we've been through this many times, and it's so hard to not like, I'm sorry. Okay. I'll just do it anyway, because they're offended or upset that you have to just, I'm sorry. Like there's nothing I can do. And well, it's one of these things where it's like the sacrifice now comes for something of greater value down the line, and to let a little more air into this mysterious concept we're talking about is that, for the first time in 11 years to obtain location for Addict to Athlete, to have its home base where we can do the counseling, we can do the health and recreation, we can have a facility that's going to house all of these amazing things we have planned. And now it's time. After 11 years, it's time. We're so excited. And I'm kind of blown away by it. But again, I'm like, if you're hearing this, if any of my clients are hearing this, like, don't give up, like hang in there. There's just a lot of attention that needs to be taken on here. Mm-hmm. And so stress is everywhere. You've been wickedly stressed. I know the kids are, we had a little meltdown with one of our kids about some hair. And I'm like, we're in the middle of this race and we get this call. And I thought, this is by the sound of her voice. I thought for sure there was something heavier than this, like maybe a breakup or something. Yeah. And first I get here and she's upset about her hair. And there's part of me that was like, are you serious? Are you kidding? But for her, it's like the world was ending. Yeah. And it was hard because it's like, if it's important to her, it has to be important to us. But we're talking in circles. Mm-hmm. And meanwhile, the race is going on. We got to be out there. So we had to prioritize. Yeah. And she came first. And that's why sometimes, that's why I'm glad this question came up right now, is because like something else has to put on pause, but I'm telling you, we're not going anywhere. Yeah. So hang in there with us and just be part of this amazing thing that's coming. And the hard parts we have now will be a little bit lighter on down the road. So stress is everywhere. I would say channel it. I would say, get yourself your team. Don't hide, don't withdraw. Yeah. And there's another little part of that hairdo I got to talk to you after this podcast that we did chat about. So it hasn't completed yet. Further drama. Further needs, I should say, monetary needs. But sorry. Nonetheless, but she always thinks money will fix it. Well, doesn't it? Just so you know, if that's what's in your mind, that money will fix your problems. It doesn't. Well, what's in your wallet, right? Maybe. Brilliant. All right. I see Donnell chomping at the bit here. Should we get her on? I'm going to move her over. Awesome. She has a question. Donnell always brings the good questions. Yeah, she does. It's never just how do you like your eggs? It's more like the in-depth good stuff. How do you like your eggs? You ever see Boston freak out when a waitress asks them that? Like, how do I like my eggs? Okay. Well, he's learning now. I didn't know that either. Donnell, welcome to the One-on-One with Coach Blu.
Hello, how are you guys?
We're good. How are you?
I'm good. So my question, so I've been kind of struggling the last week or so. I get on this, I've been doing a lot of energy work, and so energy is like really important to me, and I'm kind of learning to kind of tune into the energies. And what I'm struggling with is like I'll get on this path of really feeling, good and, kind of moving along and feeling my energy and trying to keep my energy high. And then something hits me square in the face, and it just seems like that one thing just negates so much of my work, where I just get down again and just get this like heavy feeling. And I know that it will go away, but honestly, like for me, I guess the question that I want to ask you guys is like, when you get that real heaviness, how do you like cut through that heaviness, and how do you like cut through the really bad stuff,
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm making any sense.
You totally
But
are.
yeah.
You absolutely are. So there's a lot to what you're saying, Donnell. And listeners, I want you to pay attention, because this typically happens when life seems to be going really well. I mean, even right now, it's like, we were just talking about all this great stuff that's happening. It's going to come at a cost for something else. And so I typically start looking at it, Donnell, and you probably know this, but it's a good refresher, that it is your resistance to the what is that's causing your struggle. So whatever we're trying to resist, like for instance, this, knowing that I have to make some adjustments to my personal schedule so that I can open up time to do the things the state's requiring, to do the stuff that the team needs to get this program up and going. I'm resisting having to have the conversation with people that's like, I'm not Superman. I gotta take a knee for a minute. So if I'm resisting that and I'm putting it off, what is that going to cause in me? The stress, the doubt, the embarrassment, the pain, all that stuff. So what do I got to do? I got to lean into it, because it's my resistance to the what is that's causing my struggle. So typically we look at this like not another issue, not another problem. If we resist it, it gets bigger, and we can create a giant out of a small fairy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a giant, but compared to what? Look what you've already overcome. And so what is it that you're resisting, and what would it look like if you leaned into it instead of trying to avoid it?
I mean, I get what you're saying, and I know in my head that's what I have to do. And I know that by, looking at it like it's not something that I can control. I mean, what event it was, I mean, I'm just going to say it was Caden. And
yeah,
I just felt like the minute I got that news, I just felt completely hopeless, because it just seems like, especially lately, there's just been so many people, and so it just kind of was like, and part of it I think is guilt, because I haven't been really active in trying to fix the problem or try and be a part of the solution. I've been working more on myself than being out there and trying to fix the solution. But I mean, after a while, I just feel like it gets to be too much.
You're right.
And I think that's where the heaviness really came from. But I don't think I've been able to overcome it this time. Like it just felt like too much. And
it did with me too, Donnell. That one rocked me because I was not expecting it. And I'm not expecting any of the athletes to pass. I'm just not. The reality's there, and it's always a potential. Like I said at the beginning of the podcast, none of us get out of this life alive. And, that's a known fact. But like his mom said down there, she said that I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. None of us really are. And it's hard, Donnell. I mean, I get it. I get what you're feeling. Probably more than you might know. I was telling Marissa, I'm like, we have a really hard job, and I don't like this kind of stuff. Even going down there at first, I'm like, we shouldn't be here. Like I was questioning, like, we shouldn't be here. We're just a little person in his life. Maybe the chair or the pew I'm sitting on should have went to somebody else. until you go in there and realize that that's just your own, it's just your own insecurities. Talking with his family and stuff and seeing him, and Donnell, it only hurts because we love that deeply. If you pull your love away and if you callous yourself, what a miserable existence that would be. So I kind of cherish this feeling too, as much as it hurts, because we have the capacity to love. I remember talking to an acquaintance both you and I have from that program we both are aware of. And I remember thinking, and I'm almost ashamed to say this out loud, but I was talking we were losing people. And I'm like, I remember saying, it's almost like it doesn't hurt anymore. We're losing so many, it's almost common. And he said, be careful with that, because that's when something will hit you. And it was a few months later that we lost Carly. And that really hurt. That really hurt. We were running the Break the Cycle relay on Friday night. It's cold, it's windy, it's snowing and raining, it's miserable. And 1 a.m, there's Emma and there's Tyson. And Tyson always takes the leg that goes right through the cemetery to pay a little love to Carly. And I was right there with them. And it's a hard place for me to be. It always will be. And then cute little Savannah says, oh yeah, today's Ashton's birthday. That crushed me. So I get where you're coming from. I totally get it, Donnell. I do. But it's like that poem about the starfish, right? Kids pitching the starfish back into the sea. And the guy's like, hey, you know what? You're not making any progress. This doesn't matter. And he picks one up and pitches it into the ocean. He's like, what mattered to that one? That's why we're still here. That's why we don't give up. It's what Coach David Clark told me before he passed. He's like, you do what you can for the people that are here, and we love and we respect and we help the families that are left behind. I get where you're coming from. This one hit me pretty hard too, Donnell. Marissa will testify to it. I was leveled because I remember everything we talked about. I remember the lake to lake relay. I remember this conversation I had with him on the other side of that lake that I'll hold precious. And it was so impactful that I still remember what we talked about. But you're still here. You're not gone. And I'm glad that you're taking care of yourself, because that's what needs to happen. When we focus too much on others and neglect ourselves, we get consumed. So it matters to you. And the best thing we can do is be there for the family. Caden gave amazing hugs. And now I know where he got it, because his mom does too. Yeah. She gave Marissa and I the biggest hug and, thanked us and just was there, and it was awesome. There was standing room only. That whole chapel was filled with people that had been touched by him. And the joke,
not to mention all the ones on the outside that couldn't go. I mean,
yep. Yeah, absolutely. You guys were all there. And it hurts, but I'm glad it hurts, because it tells me that you've restored your heart. You're not hiding anymore. We shouldn't hide from this kind of stuff. We should really lean into it. If we're resisting this kind of stuff and resisting the inevitable pain that comes with life, we're going to miss out on a lot. It's going to cause suffering, right? Yeah. It's our resistance to what is that causes our suffering. What do you think?
So I think, like Blue was saying, being able to feel it and allow it to come, to not resist, like, why am I still sad? Like, let yourself cry, let yourself be sad when you're sad. Think about your memories with Caden is huge. And then is there anything you could do to go out and honor him, to honor his memory? And doing that, I think, does so much. I was so glad we were in a situation that we were able to go to his funeral, 4 hours away. And that's not always the case, not at all. So I was very grateful for that, and being able to see his family and talk to them. And, I texted with his mom from the day I found out, and she was texting me back the whole time. And that was really helpful to me. But also just going and saying that we were taking the love of the team, and, that we were representing hundreds who love and care about him as well. And, we took some bracelets down, And now it's like, well, what else can we do to do like Caden did? And that's how it helps me,
Well, the only
and
reason
what else can we do to help the next?
The only reason it does is because they allow us in. And we've had this on both sides. We've had families that didn't want anything to do with us. And then we've had some that have leaned on us, like Brooke and Don. Brooke's allowed us in. And that's been the world to us.
Because it helps you heal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We've had others that have said, no, I don't want you to be any part of this. And that causes its own set of heartache, but I respect it. But you're right, Donnell. And unfortunately, it's not going to stop. We're going to lose more. But you in this kind of mindset tells me that we're not going to lose you.
I don't have any plans on going anywhere anytime soon.
Good.
Exactly.
But I can tell you that the one thing, and I don't know if you've heard this from anybody else, but maybe this will give you some ideas of how you can, help carry his name on, is that for me, the first thing I ever remember about Caden is my first athlete meeting I went to. I was looking at the video of that because it was when I shared my letter. And so, Marissa, you sent that to me, and I saw Caden pushing the Emma's chair thing. And in the recording, you said this is Caden's very first 5K. And you said that he had told you that it felt like angels were pushing him. And I remembered his face. And he and Max had come out to the ranch a couple of days later, and he knew that I was new. He had never seen me out there before. And he came up to me and, introduced himself. And then I'd seen him in my 90 days. I had seen him every time, go up and introduce himself to somebody that he didn't know. And I just thought that was so awesome, because that's just kind of who he was. His smile just lit up the room, and he could just make you feel so comfortable when in a situation where you weren't comfortable. And so I think, I don't know. I just know that it hurts. And it's taken me a minute to get up and pull myself up from this one and not feel like it's just a waste of time, because it's not. And I know it's not, but it's just been so many Blue lately. And
it has. While we were down there too, I was talking to Marissa. I have a very dear friend that I miss significantly. His name was Derek. And Derek taught me how to be a counselor. Like when I got my counseling degree to do addiction counseling, he was the guy that taught me the ropes. I fell in love with him, his family, everything. And when he passed away due to alcohol and some choices that put him in a situation where he was injured, I lost a good piece of me. And that stuff still hurts. I was talking to Marissa about it the other day. I'm like, this would be something that Derek would just love. He'd laugh at this.
You say it all the time.
Yeah. And I know that when I'm feeling those kind of things, it's because they're close. We still have a job to do. That's why the Proxy Run's so important. We still have a job to do. If we don't remember them, if we don't put their names on our bibs and run with them, we'll forget them. And then what good will that bring? So I'm with you, but it shows a testament of how much you love because of how much this hurts. I've said that a million times, and I'll say it till I'm literally and figuratively blue in the face. It hurts because we love. If you didn't love, it wouldn't matter. And if we're going to be vulnerable enough to love someone or something, we're also going to have the other side of that. And that's the pain, and that's the sadness, and that's the grief that we'll feel when they're no longer around. But it'll heal. And we take it and we learn from it and we love it and we give that to somebody else. So yeah, Danielle, it's been heavy on my mind too. Like, I just love you to death because you're speaking truth.
Yeah, it's hard.
It is.
And, but that's what his sisters, one of his sisters, well, all of his 3 sisters spoke, his mom and his dad. It was amazing funeral. But one of them said, don't stop talking about Kate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Don't forget him. Share the things you remember and that he taught you. That's what we want.
Yeah. I mean, you were there, Donnell, when we ran from the one cemetery in Spanish Fork, Utah, all the way to the Mount Pleasant Cemetery. And we were there unifying 2 families who had both lost brothers.
Yeah.
And on that run, if you remember, on that run, we were in the middle of nowhere, and I got a text message from a woman who had already lost her first son to heroin overdose. The Fitzgerald family. And I was on the Hope 62 run when I got a message saying that her second son had just passed away.
I remember that Michael was running that leg.
He was running that leg. And then not more than a year ago, she texted me and said, Blue, it did it again. I've now lost my third son to this.
All 3
of her boys.
Her only children.
Gone.
All to drug overdose.
And how do you wrap your head around that? Here's
I
this
can't
family
imagine.
now that has this quiet home that won't have the giggles and the fun snuggles from grandkids and all these things that we wish for. If it was any other circumstance, I'd be scared to death to even invest in them, because what can I do or say that can take that pain away? Nothing. But we love these people, and just it's hard, man. It doesn't make any sense, Donnell. I got you. It doesn't make any sense. These people are living through my trauma threshold. I mean, I'm scared to death of that kind of stuff. I don't know. I appreciate you bringing it up though, because I feel like I'm not done talking about it. And I know some people want to move on, and and it's interesting. Well, when Carly passed away, I had some athletes approach me and say, are we going to keep doing this? Are we going to keep running for Carly? Are we going to keep talking about her? And the answer is yes. Yes, we are.
But the sad thing is we have more now.
We have more now.
It's
absolutely.
We have one.
And we're not going to forget them either. But I always thought that's really interesting because, if you're sick of hearing her name, or you're sick of hearing about the runs or whatever, then move on. But here we choose to remember, and we choose to edify and strengthen, and we choose to invest. And if you don't want to do that, that's fine. But we do. We don't forget our fallen athletes. But I'm so thankful, Donnell, that you made these kind of commitments to yourself, because the world needs more Donnells out there.
Thank you.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Because
you.
like I said, I'm not done talking about it either. Like, we're not supposed to just move on. Right?
It's hard.
Or if we just move on, then what we loved about them doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Absolutely. We'll feel his energy because he's out there. I know it. I felt it while we were there.
Very strong.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And things about that other side of the veil that most don't. So
I do.
We know that. We know that they're not gone.
Right.
Thank you, Donnell.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
guys.
See you next time. That's a hard one.
Yeah.
Like, how do you encapsulate all those feelings? Mm-hmm.
Just have to feel it and keep trying to, do good. And,
It's the people that are left that need that love too. It's like when I was serving in a calling in my church, one of my responsibilities was to attend and to invest in the people who've lost family. And when they first pass, it's easy to do all the casseroles and all the attention. But what happens, 2, 3, 6 months, 12 months later? What then?
Yeah. I have a friend who recently lost her husband and father of 5 children. Just a few months ago. And when we went to the funeral, one of the neatest things I saw is all of the family and friends had a clipboard in the foyer asking people to sign up for weeks to over the next year plus to send an email, send flowers, bring over a treat, anything to just show the family that you love them. Because they're like, we know we have lots of food and all that right now, but what happens in those months to come? And so somebody's in charge of that list and we'll just call or text and remind them, hey, it's your week. And I just think that's one of the coolest things is that this family is just being embraced by everyone and will continually receive love in time to come when it's even harder, when the flowers fade and die, that things really hit home.
Yeah. It's a rough one. Because the potential's there, but again, I wouldn't trade these feelings for anything because they're real, and you'd be doing yourself an incredible disservice. And I've seen this in the past where people have passed away and have histories of addiction, and it causes other people to start using. And I'm thinking, shame on you to use that as an excuse to get high instead of feeling the full magnitude of the love and that, like, I get it because it's an addiction, but like, don't hide from these kind of experiences. You've got to be able to feel them sober, because when you intoxicate yourself, you're lying to yourself. You're postponing the inevitable, which is that trauma and that grief is going to come out somewhere. And it's hard because there's none of this makes a lot of sense. Yeah. How do you make sense of any of this?
No.
So I get it. Do we have anything else chambered? Because we're running low on time.
No.
Okay.
Not that I've seen.
You guys, thank you so much for watching and listening and sharing this podcast. Sign up for these races. These are where the relationships are established. If you don't have a team, register. We'll put you in with someone.
Post and ask, find people that will join you.
Absolutely. This isn't about speed, or even endurance. It's about the journey. It's about these relationships that you're going to build. And I think that the experience of the No One Left Behind race is going to be very catchy. So please jump on our website, register for that. The Proxy Run is exactly what we've been talking about. It's to remember your loved one who may have lost their battle to addiction, suicide, or accident. Come out and feel their spirit with you, and come meet the team. We call ourselves Addict to Athlete, but we have just about as many people that have never had addictions that come out and participate because they have someone that they love that does. So it doesn't need to be exclusively drugs and alcohol as an addiction. It's being a team and finding your tribe, really.
Yeah.
So thank you all so much for all that you do. Thank you all the Patreon subscribers. And until next time, please keep yourself safe and turn your